goodness. Wow. Happy Wednesday, America. These people can whistle. Ooh, I feel so objectified. But it's great to be back. I want to thank Dana for subbing for me when I was out. I didn't even have to change the size on this booster seat. Anyway, once again, the Democrats have a wartime president. The problem is he's declared war not on drugs or poverty or even pumpkin spice lattes, but on other Americans. You, me, your parents, those freaks on Fox and Friends. But I guess there's bad in everything.
There's bad in everything. There's lousy senators, there's lousy presidents, there's lousy doctors, there's lousy lawyers.
Sounds like his administration. But you know, maybe he used to be in the old days a pretty good athlete.
I used to be in the old days a pretty good athlete, and if someone was really big and tough, you say, I wouldn't screw with him if I had a sledgehammer.
Ah. Sounds like someone took a sledgehammer to his head. His sentences wander more than he does. What? Oh, did I go too far? But remember what used to be the criticism when Biden was running.
Remember what used to be the criticism of Biden when I was running? Biden's too bipartisan. Biden has too many Republican friends. Not a joke. What in God's name has happened to that?
Yeah, you know what happened to that? You happened to that. Yeah, muttering Magoo. You told a big fib. We were told you were going to unify us after evil orange Godzilla, and then you got in charge and you turned into AOC and extra large Depends. Turns out Joe's more divisive than a shop class table saw. But at least you don't keep demonizing those brave right-wing Americans.
For those brave right-wing Americans who say it's all about keeping America's independent and safe, if you want to fight against the country, you need an F-15. You need something a little more than a gun. No, I'm not joking. Think about this. Think about the rationale we use that's used to provide this. And who are they shooting at? Shooting at these guys behind me.
So he says he's not joking, which means he's stupid. Because nothing he said suggests he understands anything about America. Okay, supporters of the Second Amendment, good luck using that against a tactical fighter aircraft. Ah! Sorry, jackass. I'm sorry, Mr. President. Jackass. With that logic, we should give up all our rights because they're also no match for someone flying a bomber. The worst part is he thinks this is clever. He's like Jesse Waters when he discovers a new word. Have you ever noticed? He just says it over and over again, and always in the wrong context. Look, the right to bear arms exists whether there are bombers or not. In fact, it's the Second Amendment that keeps us not from being bombed by Joe, but from being invaded by other countries. There's no way anyone could invade the United States. Didn't you see Red Dawn? We got 400 million guns, and that's just under Judge Janine's bed. True. Don't break into that place. But one small town would decimate the enemy, and why? Second Amendment. So you can have your F-15, but it's also our F-15. And fat chance you get any American pilot to bomb an American city. Besides, after what the Dems have done to our cities, bombing them seems kind of redundant. So Joe's delivering another speech tomorrow about the threat to democracy, which means they've already started defrosting him. But if he's talking about threats to democracy, it's not us, but it's also not him. The only thing he's a threat to is a pair of clean underwear. But obviously, it's his party's policies we have a problem with. We don't demonize the voters, we attack the policies. We make fun of him. Crime, inflation, Ukraine, the border, Afghanistan, student loan forgiveness, taxes. The Dems screw up on all these things, then demonize you for wanting to repair the damage. It's like Joy Behar being mad at the guys who fix broken mirrors. They like that one. But this pre-demonization is a form of self-defense, like spraying holy water at Nancy Pelosi. But this should bug you, because we were sold the wrong Joe. We were expecting Biden and got Stalin. He was gonna bring us all together. Well, he half succeeded. He brought the right together like Michael Moore and a bowl of buttermilk. What gives, Joe?
No. I'm all about unity. I'm a unity guy. But what's the first letter of unity? U. That's the you do what I say. That's how it works, man. Come on. Did you ever try to put a Kevlar vest on a deer? That's no joke. Yeah. Tough guy with a gun. I got an F-15. I'm Top Gun. I'm Goose. I'm Iceman. The Iceman cometh. Global warming. It's no joke.
Is he driving? Remember when old Joe told voters if you don't like him, you can vote for someone else? Now the people who listened are called fascists. His idea of a terror group are moms who attend school board meetings. Now remember, Trump never went after voters. He went after the press, of course, politicians, celebrities, you know, real evil. He didn't see Americans as the enemy. Joe's different. With no solutions and a party paralyzed by wokeness, he must stoke fear against the other. He says we're moving toward semi-fascism, which sounds like semi-flaccid, something Dr. Jill has been praying for the last 30 years. Disgusting. Despicable. But if the Republicans are semi-fascists, what does that make Joe? Remember the violence when Trump won? The riots in D.C.? Joe said nothing. Trump supporters getting attacked? Joe didn't say a thing. How about the riots that went on for months? Dozens died. Joe basically had to be forced to come out of a basement to say something. Remember the government coerced censorship? Or that Merrick Garland didn't stop the illegal protests outside the homes of Supreme Court justices even after the attempt on Brett Kavanaugh? But the Dems are busy mining one single day in history as proof that 70 million people extol political violence. Because apparently being consistently violent is preferable to one day that's such an oddity that everyone condemned it. If only they were Dems, then Kamala would have bailed them out. This Ford gets me going from 0 to 60 with a raise of his eyebrow. Fox News contributor Harold Ford Jr. He opens for comedian Rob Schneider, except when the door's too heavy. Actor, writer, and comedian Jamie Lissow. She's interviewed more sweaty men than Kevin Spacey. Host of the Sideline Sanity podcast, Michelle Tafoya. And finally, look at that guy, huh? He's worked more overnights than a high school janitor. Chief breaking news correspondent, Trish Gallagher. Harold, let me guess what you're gonna say. Great to be here. Glad to have you back from your vacation, but I see things differently. We talked about this, right? We've talked about this just like hours ago on The Five, in which I destroyed you. Have you thought about it and decided to agree with me on everything I say?
I have a slightly different point of view about what happened. Look, first of all, welcome back. You've been missed. Everybody enjoyed you. Everybody enjoyed being here. Look, I watched the stuff you had on Biden, and I remember, I've known him a long time. My father was in Congress when he was in the Senate. I was in the Congress when he was in the Senate. We traveled overseas, to Afghanistan, to Iraq, to parts of the Middle East together. And his son, Bo, and I were in college together at Penn. He was a year ahead of me. The guy he has always been is what he talked about, the guy that worked across the aisle. I think in fairness to him, since he's been in office, there's certainly been a loud roar from some in our country who don't believe he actually won the election. He's had a loud roar from a big part of members in my party, progressives, who he's really had a hard time dealing with. And I think at times some would argue that he's capitulated to them. But I would argue, if you look at what he's accomplished, legislative, you can agree or disagree with it. But I think he has probably tried as hard as anyone to reach out across the aisle, particularly the last few presidents that we've had. Could it be more? Yes. I've been critical of him when he's been wrong. I try to call balls and strikes when we're together on the 5. And
Football analogy. Thank you.
Even when we're on Brett's show. And, when he gets it right, I try to say it. And when he gets it wrong, I try to say it. But I think to put all the blame on him, I think is a little unfair.
Well, okay, just look. Whoa. We're going to be editing all of that out. After the. Oh, stop it! Stop it, you people. Harold's great. Jamie, it's got to be hard for people to demonize you because no one knows you.
Yeah.
And you live in Alaska. And, you probably just want any attention, even if it was negative, correct?
Yeah, I'll take anything at all. Thank you for even coming to me.
Yes.
Hey, by the way, Greg, I saw an awesome article about your ratings last month.
Thank you.
I want to say, very excited. I was so excited when I was reading it, I was half fascist. That was a big deal. You have to admit, though, the Biden speeches are, if nothing else, a source of a lot of entertainment.
That's true.
My favorite thing is to watch Biden's supporters behind him, who during this speech, was last night or the other night, they were watching him like a child on a tightrope over the Grand Canyon. Just like, stay on the line. Stay on the line, buddy. And I don't know. Sometimes I do feel bad for him. They said that the hardest thing about Biden is whenever someone says F-15, he yells bingo. Remember that cancer scare he had?
Right.
And I heard when he was at the doctor's office, the doctor was like, good news, it's benign. And he was like, B9, bingo again.
Do you have a third bingo joke you'd like to share?
I don't have a third bingo joke, but I will say, what's in that bomb? C4? Bingo. Sorry, that is.
How long can you go with this?
That's kind of all I have. Is he doing another? They said he was doing another address tomorrow.
Right.
And I was like, I don't think he should do any more addresses. I'm not even sure he knows his own address. He's like, yeah, drop me off here. All I remember is it's a White House.
Brutal. You are so terrible, Jamie. Trace, you live in California.
I do.
So you're kind of like, you feel the consequences of certain policies that our politicians don't feel.
Right.
But you're also on the news side, so I don't want to ask you, like, your real opinion. But what is your real opinion?
Well, I have a different observation than Harold Ford, as you might imagine. I think Joe Biden, the truth is that he's actually de-escalating his rhetoric from the beginning of the year. Remember when he talks about an F-15 yesterday? At the beginning of the year in February, he said to fight the government, you need an F-15 and Hellfire missiles, right? And then by June, it was, you need an F-15 and nuclear weapons. Yesterday, it was just an F-15. So we have come a long way. And it's not like these things are hard to get, Greg, right? You can get one from the Taliban. You can rent an F-15 from the Taliban, compliments of America, for $100 and you just give them a waiver. So that's the kind of thing. As far as his other rhetoric where he demonizes half the public, that's just to stop the argument. I mean, the left, and Harold would disagree with me, they don't want to argue that you're either a denier or you're a health threat or you're an extremist or something. There's no debate. And so what Joe Biden is doing is he villainizes half the people, and that shuts down the debate. There's no debate on that. That's the way it is. And...
Scene.
Done.
Scene. That's what phrase actors use. Thank you. Are they applauding me or Trace?
I don't know.
Oh, because if they're applauding Trace, they're gone. But if they're applauding me, they're awesome. Michelle, always great to see you. All I ask for is that, focus on the right issues and don't get mad at us for wanting to focus on the right issues. I feel like if we're concerned about crime, why are we then bad people?
Listen, it's all in how he frames it. I think this address that he's supposed to give is about how it's the soul of our country. Our rights are being taken away. Mm-hmm. And he's basing this on the whole Hobbes decision, right?
Yeah.
But he's right. Our rights are being taken away. We are losing our right to domestic tranquility because there's chaos at the border. We are losing our right to self-defense because they want to take guns away. We are losing our right to free speech and freedom of expression. We find out now that the FBI put some pressure on Facebook to mute a story about a presidential candidate Girls are learning that they're losing their rights to Title IX to compete just against other girls because that category was supposed to be for them, but that's kind of being lost. So, yeah, some of the rights are being lost. I'd like him to address that.
That's a very interesting point, especially. Yeah. But I gained the right to compete against girls. Finally, I might win a trophy.
I think it's interesting that his primetime speech tomorrow night is at 9 p. Bingo again. Oh, dude.
Trace coming. Trace.
No P in bingo.
There you go.
I would have thought prime time for Biden would be like 4 p.m. More of a Branson,
I'll tell you this,
Missouri thing.
We talk a lot about him. And the name calling, I get it, it's politics. You gotta have your big boy pants on to deal with it. We call him senile. People call him a communist. They've called him a Marxist. They've questioned whether or not he won the election. And he goes right along with it. Number of things have been said around this in good fun and good humor. And Greg and I have a great relationship as we do it.
Oh, we live together now.
But I didn't know if you wanted to tell everybody, but his poll numbers are going up. All the things you're saying, all the things everybody's saying, he's gone up from the high 30s to the mid 40s. He's about where President Trump was at some point in his administration. We now have 2.5 months till Election Day. Elections are won when you talk about the future, when you talk about how you want to make people's lives better. If all your plan is if you want to investigate things, you want to criticize people, you want to name call, guess what? You'll be able to do that from the minority. We're not going to get stronger if all we want to do is name call. If we have ideas, if you contest with ideas and thoughts, and to your point,
You sound like a Republican.
Well,
We got to move on because we're running out of time here. But I think the name calling is fine when it's directed at an individual in power. You shouldn't be name calling an entire group of people.
I don't disagree with that.
All right, good, because I was about to call you a big jerk.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.